Now, do we have any legislators here? Because again, we ended on the fact that we want to have all rent collected now by owners of buildings and high-rises through the fire escape only. So if that could be the case, then we'd have a lot of things happening immediately, because landlords will not take any risk, but they'll send agents, they'll send everybody, they'll send you. What we're going to try to do is here to remind you now that what training you're going to get today, you'll be able to look at a fire escape and you're never going to get on it again. From the ground, you can look up and you will tell them that there is a violation or not. From a window, you can look out and see whether or not there was routine maintenance. So in all the codes, we're going to get back to the 4 codes, but every state has a general code of life safety. You must maintain all of your property when? Always. So that's where it starts. You want to write a violation, and I need assistance. So as I was told, Virginia 2009, the construction code, guys, if it's the IBC, in all the classes I've ever taught, nobody has ever modified the code for fire escapes. It's 3 or 4 sentences. There's no modification. It's the bastard child of egress. They don't have any opinion on it because they don't want to deal with it. So if it's the building code is running, you want to know it's the IBC, and it's usually, for us, the IBC code, it's now moved to 1001.3. And here's the kicker. If it depends on how it's read, it says all exterior steel or wooden stairs. So open up your book and just look at that. Just to show you how big this iceberg is. Go to this page, it's the first page in, and look at the very bottom. That's an IBC code from Massachusetts. The only modification it did was add the 5-year rule, because the IBC doesn't have a 5-year rule. Okay? So the IBC, which by the way, they took it out in 2012. This code is no longer the IBC of 2012. So by the time certain states that are adopting IBC, it's left the IBC as of 2012 and moved over to the IFC 2012. So again, I'm not here for, to correct code. I'm just telling you that. So all exterior steel or wooden stairs. Have I mentioned fire escapes yet? So how many porches, decks, rear stairways, spiral stairs are on the back of these buildings exposed to the weather? Those all must be examined. If you read further, it says all exterior bridges. You know what bridges are? Not state bridges, but if you have a little bridge going over a babbling brook, you have a catwalk or a skywalk at a hotel or at a hospital. You have a bridge, which is a handicap ramp. That's a bridge. It bridges something, crosses over something. Steel or wooden stairs. So not only steel, fire escapes, also egresses, guys. So everybody keeps, typically the word fire escape tends to be a residential term for things that are 24 inches wide, 8 and 8 rise and run is a fire escape. But you start getting, on a commercial building, the same fire escape on the back that's 36 inches wide, usually 7-11, but not, usually it's 8 and 8. They call it what? An egress. But they're the same thing. It's an external steel or wooden stair. And what's the code say you got to do to them? They must be examined, tested, or certified. We're going to cover this. For structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. We modified the code to add the 5 years because somebody fell down and died in '73. You may have the same version, it's missing the 5-year. But where did they throw the 5-year now? IFC 2012. Is it here yet? It doesn't matter if it's here yet. It's basically, it's coming down the pike that the 5-year rule, and you got all these codes to basically have, do some interrelational activities between your various departments. But all the codes in every state say you must maintain your property at all times in a safe manner. So as a firefighter or a building inspector, you walk in, you see an unsafe condition, meaning they don't have 2 means of egress. Can they rent that property? Can they sell that property?
Not all places require second means of egress.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that code, because that's when you say it doesn't need a second means of egress, it's just based on height requirement? Sprinkle, oh, this is I just got this call yesterday. That's the code which says that you can, in lieu of a second means of egress, you can have a sprinkler system.
Or the size of the building, the occupant load of the building.
Occupant load, and you can use a sprinkler system as your second means of egress. You know who they forgot to tell, because we get these calls all the time? And that's usually a fire department option that says you, in lieu of a fire escape, you can have a sprinkler. You know who doesn't like that? Insurance companies. You know what the insurance companies say when they come in through your building? You have one means of egress in the front, and you have a sprinkler system as your second. And all of a sudden they put you in a high-risk category because what could happen to your water supply? And so I've had many people who went and spent all that money on a sprinkler system to avoid the fire escape, only to have the insurance company that year or 1, 2, 3 years later when they switch insurance companies. And you know what they get? 30-day letter that says what? Guess what they need? Fire escape. So now they have a fire escape, and a sprinkler system. So just so you know, it's in your books. But I'm just making you aware. There's 4 codes out there. Use them accordingly, because everybody needs to know where you're going to write your violations from. So you just got to send me what codes you have, and I'll tell you what the interpretation is. But a lot of it is already written out. So the IBC has not changed in 75 years. It's all exterior steel wooden stairs. Bridges, balconies must be examined, tested, or certified. And our job is just to explain. So let's take a look at some additional live load testing. Guys, do you have any parades in your city? Yes?
I'm not disagreeing that any building element should be under the building department, but I have the 2009 IBC anti-code section, and it only refers it to the International Fire Code.
Okay. Catch 22. No, that's great. So what you're saying is, and this happens a lot, is the building department says, hey, fire department says, hey, they took it out. And so the owner does what? So this is a perfect example. So it doesn't say anything about how to examine or test it? And you guys said it got yanked
The
out?
only reference means that you
So-
register.
I know. So where would you find,
Means of egress?
so do means of egress or maintenance of egress?
What I'm looking at is the aspect that the building code is the construction document, the fire code for us is a maintenance document.
Correct, it's a maintenance, so.
So even though it refers in the building code to look at the fire code, that's the construction. The way I'm looking at it, we really are limited to the 1030 section of means of egress.
Sure, can I see, can we read it out?
Yeah,
If you could just find it for me, I'll read it out to you right
but
now.
I just had it. But it
He's
talks
trying
about,
to pop your bubble.
yeah, but it talks about reliability, what the
Yeah.
fire exits passageways cannot be obstructed or
Yeah.
impediments.
Right, no obstructions.
It doesn't necessarily talk about the testing or maintenance.
No, it just says, yeah.
Can you read it?
Required exit accesses, exits or exit discharge shall be continuously maintained.
Stop right there.
It says maintain free.
Yeah, there's no
Hold on, there's
comment.
no comma.
Oh.
Maintain free from obstructions or impediments. That's telling me mattresses, couches, anything on the fire escape.
Yeah.
To impediments to full instant use in the case of fire or other emergency when the areas served by such exits are occupied. Security devices affecting means of egress shall be subject to the approval of the fire code official. That's it.
Subject to the approval. Instant use. What's it mean, instant use?
Open the window and get out on.
And it'll do what? Hold you. So that's the instant use. Must be ready for instant use, not possible use. Must be ready for instant use, which means maintained at all times. And what's the rest of it that it
It
read?
says maintain free from obstructions, impediment.
Yeah, that's the
or
instruction
impediments.
code,
That's it. Full instant use in case of fire or emergency,
right?
when the areas served by exits are occupied.
I think it's kind of gray, but I would use that for a fire escape.
And if I may,
And refer them back to the building department for certification.
no, they're not, it's not that they get this, the maintenance, really, again, 40 out of 50 states, fire prevention handles all the maintenance and certification. Building department is gonna issue a permit. When you paint the fire escape, you need a permit? When you change a fastener, you need a permit? When you alter a fire escape, do you need a permit? So that's when they come back into play, got it? So the certification, and as of IFC 2012 now, they're starting to push it all to the maintenance part of it, not the building. I need to build one, building department. I need to maintain one because it's already been up for a while, and certified, fire prevention. Got it? So if I may, I'll just need a, yes, question? Oh, by the way, as you guys ask these questions, I'm not the answer to every one of these questions. I need you guys to fight with each other because This happens quite often. I get I get somebody that knows the code. I don't know all the 50 codes, but I can sort of see where the words are that will refer back. And the best code to refer, do we guys use NFPA at all?
Only if it's referenced in there, which is basically.
Right, but every now and then, do you reference back to NFPA just to help you?
Only use reference in there.
Okay. NFPA, the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load tests or other evidence of strength. It's nice and clear.
And
But-
I think I would refer to NFPA, if somebody was challenging me this and we went to the appeals board, I would have the 1030 section, but I think I would reference NFPA as a standard acceptance code for my argument on the maintenance of this fire escape.
So I think the reliability is what they call, is what they're using for that, and that's it. That's as far as you're gonna go on this
Yeah.
one.
But I would use that as my argument. If the guy wanted to challenge me to the appeals board.
Yeah, there's the minimum size, which is back to the building department, if you're building a new one. Obstructions. You must keep your fire escapes clear of all snow and ice. You guys don't get much ice and snow down here anymore, except what we're shipping, because we have enough up there. So again, I'll read it. 1030.2, everybody write this down. 1030.2, required exit accesses. Exits or exit discharges shall be, this is funny. Required exit accesses. Is that all exterior steel wooden stairs? Exit accesses, what do you? So exit accesses and exits or exit discharges. Is that exterior steel wooden stairs?
Only if it's required.
Okay, I know, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not trying to pigeonhole anybody, and I'm just trying to give you guys a little room. Please help me interpret. Shall be continuously maintained, free from obstruction, which is again, no cans, no bicycles, nothing blocking you, or impediments to full instant use, full, not partial, full instant use in the case of fire or other emergency, which means what? Can they be used at any time? Instant use shall be maintained, right? Fire escape has to be maintained at all times, yes.
But I would argue that, and I can see it coming, a lawyer is gonna say that counts for obstructions, impediments, building materials that doesn't come with the maintenance of it. They're gonna argue that, and they can get away with it.
Right, but the code says you must, all fire escapes must be structure sound and must be kept painted. That's a general code, right? Every structure must be maintained.
Yeah.
So the envelope of a building must be maintained at all times. So that means you get there and you see a rusty fire escape, has that been maintained? Can you write a violation? Okay, so again, you guys, normally if you get there and it has not been properly maintained, the house is not being painted, the iron is not being painted, can you write a violation? There's evidence of rust or rot, can you write a violation? Can you look at a porch and you see carpenter ants, you see dust on the ground, can you write a violation? So if a property has not been maintained, broken windows or whatever, so if a property must be maintained at all times, I'm just trying to now apply this to the fire. The full instant use, is it partial instant use or full instant use? And two activities, a fire, so that basically, a fire escape is something that people use to get out of a building without your help. So it's self-evacuation. A fire escape is not, hey, wait for your fireman and he'll handhold you down out of there. A fire escape is instant use. I get myself out of there. Should I have any doubt that I'll be dead if I use the fire escape? Because you guys don't use the fire escapes, remember? Case of fire, what do you guys say? Don't use the fire escape, right? You show up with your shiny ladders, your shiny trucks, and you do what? You verbally have a back end story that says what? Don't use the things because they may kill you. So cigarettes will kill you, and using a fire escape during a fire will kill you too. So instant use. So I don't want to dwell on it too much. Can you locally do something and have what would you guys call it? Under the fire department or under the building, a zoning or an ordinance that you create that sort of changes this? It's not for me to say. But if sometimes that's what happens, where you need to go get national activity and bring it here and say, hey, when our code is too vague, we need repairs and procedures, guidelines brought in. That's up to you guys. It's a long road up a snowy, icy hill. All right, thank you for the book, that's good. So again, one paragraph, one vague paragraph, but it basically says instant use, if you may. Back to him. Thank you, that's called the reliability. And if you look further down, read the one at the very bottom where it says maintenance.
It says testing.
Listen to this.
All two-way communication systems for areas of refuge shall be inspected and tested on a yearly basis to verify that all components are operational. When required, tests shall be conducted in the presence of a fire code. Because that's your area of refuge in buildings for handicap.
That's just a two-way radio. So the maintenance where we're supposed to have some information, what do they talk about? Two-way radios. And back up to the very top, it says something about the fire official. If you read the very part of the reliability, the fire official is back into this. What is that?
It says security devices affecting means of egress shall be subject to the approval of the fire code official. That means if you're locking a window or a door.
Right, no locks. Must be single action, requiring no special knowledge.
Knowledge, right.
So that is just the access. So this is, you guys may need some more clarity on here because the further south you go, there's not many fire escapes. But you know what fire escapes are? Fire escapes are on every mansion that is being converted into a condo. So let's get the code very clear. Can I build a new fire escape today?
Can you? You got the
The
money.
law says you can't build fire escapes. No new fire escapes.
That's what sprinklers are.
No, there's a misinterpretation of the code. I cannot dig a hole in the ground, put up a brand new building, and then add a fire escape to that brand new building. So no new fire escapes on new construction. How about all this pre-existing, non-conforming structures that I'm, nice mansion that I'm turning into 4 condos that has a beautiful central stairway made of marble and it's on the historical register and I've got a right wing and a left wing and I'm building condos. And I got no room for an internal fire escape because I need all my walk-in closet space. What am I putting on that fire escape and you can't block me? I think, because nobody's been blocked anywhere in the rest of the country. What can I put on there to satisfy my means of egress if I've exhausted all other means of egress to internalize it? A fire escape. Going out a window or a door. Well, if it goes out a window, it's gonna be a fire escape, but usually it's going out a door. And if it goes out the door, because that used to be a window, and I go into a platform, do I go down the stairs or do I go down a ladder? Go down the stairs because you can't build ladders anymore unless you have a pre-existing ladder system and you were maintaining it. All the way to the ground, or with a cantilever unit. That's what's going to satisfy a lot of your buildings, boxes, churches, institutions, farms, you name it. If it's going to be converted into a residential, guess what the answer is most likely going to be? An external fire escape. And is there any setback requirements for a fire escape system? External fire escape that's not enclosed? No setback, so you can squeeze these things between buildings. And sometimes when you have no space, you can actually eliminate the stair part and actually bring in either a spiral or a ladder when you've exhausted all of the possible means. So fire escapes are going to be around to answer a lot of these buildings that are going to be saved. Change of use. As soon as you change the use on a fire escape, on a building that used to have 24-inch stairs, you change the use. The fire escape's still on the outside. What do you have to do a lot of times when you change the use to that fire escape? Gets it bigger. So a lot of your change of use, occupancies, changes what is there. So a lot of these charter schools, you guys got a lot of charter schools? Private schools, if they use any commercial building that has fire escapes with ladders on them, what can they do? They can't use that building. Because fire escapes, I don't know, daycare centers use certain buildings that fire escapes on the outside have ladders. That portion of the fire escape that daycare center is going to use. There's another crazy one, ready? You probably have this as a standard. What's your fire drill law in all your schools? One announced, one unannounced?
Every month.
Once a month? If you read the code, it basically says that they're supposed to use the closest exit. So if this is a school building and it's 100 years old and there's a fire escape over here, and we do the drill every month, where am I supposed to take my students? So, again, yes?
In reference to what you're talking about, we do have the CMD building in the city of Richmond. It's 23 stories high. They are refurbishing that. And their first intent was to remove the because they were putting in 2 interior stairwells that led from the penthouse down to the 14th floor, something like that, and then from the 14th floor down to the first level. But the historical society told them that they couldn't remove the fire escape. So now they'll end up having 3 means of egress, because now that has to be turned into a usable space, even though the tread width on that fire escape will only accommodate 1 person. And the other thing to that is that that fire escape is will be off of each individual apartment that's associated with that. So the individuals that don't know about that fire escape may not have access to it, because they have to go through somebody else's apartment to actually use it. So, to your point, what I would like to see, but it's not me, because I'm just a fire captain. And you have all these little people, and everybody's afraid to say what's true. With all these fire escapes we have in the city of Richmond, I would personally like to see them go away, or that we make some determination as to whether they're gonna be used or not, because we fall into that category, that you were talking about today, with all these fire escapes that have all these issues. And we've had a hotel with an interior stairway that had concrete on the tread where we had a young lady that almost lost her life as a result of that, because of the same thing that you were talking about. And this was off of a parking deck.
Yeah, parking lot, yeah.
If it happens with concrete melt, and then we had a project with interior or exterior stairway, where we had another young person fall through the steps because of the tread where I had rotted and all of that stuff too. So, outside of, I know for us, it's a big issue, so.
Well, we're gonna use a case study today. I think we're gonna use 900 West Franklin as a case study today, later on this afternoon, to talk about. We're gonna talk about the parking garages that have exposed stairwells that get rain and snow and ice and salt. So, but let's go back to what you said at the beginning here. Is it the historical or hysterical committee that's, I didn't hear you correctly. The hysterical committee? Okay. Who basically want you to use your money to save something to look like 100 years ago, and a lot of people don't even know what it looked like 100 years ago. But let me talk about buildings. This happens all the time. So, first of all, again, this is what's happening nationwide. Most of the time, the hysterical committee is put on the back burner when it's in regards to life safety and/or meeting the means of egress. So in most cases, when we put up a fire escape in an area that they don't want fire escapes, such as Boston's Back Bay area, and they got these brown stones and this beautiful. If you need a fire escape, you're going to get one, even though they're like, no. They say, too bad, because life safety and when it comes to means of egress, they have no say. Now, when you're talking about buildings that are 10, 20, 30 stories, and it's part of the look of the building, okay? This is what we suggested that has to happen. So, have they already built the 2 staircases inside?
No, it's part of the overall renovation of that piece of property.
Okay, so here's what you have to do on that building. It's basically going to become an ornament on the building. So, you can, on the inside, block access to that fire escape. Okay? That basically makes that an ornament, so that the only way you can use the fire escapes is the interior stairs, and you can't get on them. And they must put documentation. First of all, the fire escape must be structurally sound, it must be kept painted. So it's not like, it's going to be there, but it's not made for any use, because you can't get in through those windows. And they need information on the fire escapes that says to the firemen, don't get on these, because even if you can get on them, you can't get in the windows because they're blocked in some way, either with physical metal or half. So they can keep the look of the building, but they can actually, I've seen this many times, fake windows that are no longer, that window on the inside is sheetrock. I can't even get to it, I can't even see. So you can actually block access and follow. So you can work with them by saying, if it's got to stay because it's part of the look for the hysterical people, it's not just keep it painted now, you still got to maintain it, it's structurally sound, but now because it's not being used for anybody, you can keep your skinny stairs, you can keep your small rails, because nobody's ever going to get on it. Not the tenants are going to get on it, because you block their access from inside to outside, but then the fire department on the first, second, and third level have signage on it that say what? Right? And that's what, so it's really knowing what can be done, because every now and then in these isolated cases, the hysterical committee just starts running amok. And they start creating all kinds of craziness. So that's That's the thing, is can we remove it? And usually, historical committees want you to remove the fire escape so you can get a look at the whole building. So if they've met two means of egress on the inside, now when you repurpose this building, and there is no two staircases coming inside because of the way they have the central stair, and it's two wings and whatever, and the fire escape now is gonna stay, sometimes you have to modify the fire escape to now meet the current code because you've changed the use of the building. So now this fire escape system that has 24-inch stretch is gonna go to 36. Instead of 8 and 8 rise and run, it's gonna go to 7-11 if that's what the final. And instead of jumping out of windows, you're gonna be creating doors that feed the fire escape system. So sometimes it's a positive thing when somebody wants to refurbish and not use that real estate inside the building, they wanna use the real estate outside the building. So fire escapes are a great answer to a lot of these old buildings that are 100+ years old, because they're gonna stay, because you've given them the fire escape. But a lot of times, it's not the existing fire escape in its current use, it's the modified system with the increased use. Any more questions or similar situations happening anywhere? Okay, gonna continue here. So, how many parades happen where everybody comes out? Okay? So this happens in many, many cities. And what happened in Cambridge is they were doing this, and this is over a doorway below, and there was a cast iron molding on top there. And everybody's leaning on this thing, and the cast iron piece fell, came down straight like a javelin. Somebody down below, a bunch of people sitting on the steps watching the parade in Harvard Square, and nothing happened. It actually ricocheted, just missed everybody. But man, this is when all hell breaks loose. What do you guys, you're told not to use the fire escape. When all hell breaks loose, what do you use? Fire escape. Remember before we had AC? Or before when you could torture your kids? You say, no, we can't afford a new room, go sleep outside in the fire escape, so that was great. A lot of times, firemen go get people out through the fire escape because for some reason, they can't get them out the normal way. So this is when paramedics get hurt. Basically, getting somebody out and they have to use the rear exit. And by the way, just like Colorado, we have one of our people that belong to our network. His dad was on the 7th floor of a Chicago fire escape fixing it. Plenty of experience, touched the wrong bolt or touched the wrong piece, and he fell 7 stories to his death. So this affects everybody. People fixing it, people using it as a means. People are now using fire escapes to get to the other apartments. Non-smoking buildings, what do? You gotta light a candle, what do? You gotta exhaust some fumes out of your room, what do if you're a college student? People are taking pictures on fire escapes for weddings. All right. Let's talk about what the code says. The code is very clear. You must have it examined by a registered professional or others acceptable to the building official. Others acceptable are people in the trade that have a license. So, you want to know how many licenses there are in the country? There's a Massachusetts license from the building department that lets you inspect fire escapes. So I inspect all of Harvard University's fire escapes using my Massachusetts license. Not for fire escapes in the ornamental field. And because I'm in fire escapes, I do fire escapes, I get to examine. So my signature or an engineer's signature on a Harvard document is the same document. But if the city wants, they can say, that's great, but I still want to register professional. So one city over from Cambridge, they don't accept my license. They'll accept my license if I have it counted by a design professional. Now, I got out of California, Reg 4. You want to copy a nice system? Put in Reg 4, Regulation 4, out of LA. They have a great system. Great money-making machine. Cost me $1,000 to apply to get my license, and I have to give that money every 3 years. 100-question test. I have to go through and speak with a fire official, pass my test with at least 80. Then I have to go out and show them an examination on a fire escape. Then I have to fill out the paperwork correctly, and then they will give me the honor of a Reg 4 license. So now I'm a Reg 4 certified tester. So, you want to copy a system? You have Reg 4 LA. You want to copy a system? Portland, Oregon. They're all online. Portland, Oregon, we've helped them. We spent probably going into 10 years now with Portland and Seattle. So, some cities are quick to adopt, some have the resistance. But again, design professionals, which could include engineers and architects. But back to the code, the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. If either one of these two guys show up with an opinion, what are you gonna pull out? Load test, why? That's what the code says. The code says the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. And they want to give you an opinion. Is that as good as an assurance? If they fill out the confidence test, are we getting close to assurance? So they've changed all the fasteners. So let's say they spot repaired the fire escape and left behind some original fasteners. What are you going to pull out of your? So if they change all the fasteners on that 50, 75, 100-year-old fire escape, what are you going to avoid? You avoid the load test. Because you want opinions or assurance. And every time they fill out a confidence test, what are you getting closer to? Assurance. They think city officials inspect fire escapes, so they always say to us, oh, a city official was here, just looked at it, everything's fine, he just wants you to give me a little document that says that you agree with what he said. So they think you guys are examining fire escapes. There's fire escape inspectors, and again, I showed you the two codes. Can there be a national certification? That's what we're trying to do at the National Fire Escape Association, is try to create a certification program so that there is certified inspectors out there. So let's take a look at this one. Fort Lee, New Jersey. Just eyeballing. Fire escape pass or fail. Right? So the reason I got pulled into this one is because the secretary received a report from an engineer, and the engineer said, hey, fix 2 or 3 treads on this thing, give it a paint job, and I will sign to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. When I got there, I condemned the fire escape. This is how big the fire escape was. The uniqueness about this building, believe it or not, anybody remember the silent movie era? Fort Lee was the Hollywood of the silent movie era, and this is one of the major studios. Now it's a storage facility, but that's where Fort Lee. So the reason that this came is that there was a call by the police department. They went and the tread fell, and somebody's trying to break into that door. But this is the letter, and when you read this, it says, fix those 4 things, and then right here's a disclaimer that this was neither a load test or a destructive examination. So we went in and condemned the fire escape with all these photographs, and this is basically, what occurs. So who's better, who's right? It's not about who's better, who's right. When you leave opinions after a while, you can just drive through a lot of these buildings, roll down your window, collect a check, look out your window as a design professional and say, what? Looks good to me. Collect a check, write a simple letter that says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is structure sound and has been kept painted, and it's an opinion. Is that an assurance? Okay, so I looked at another fire escape in Chicago. I got a nice letter from the building management company, says, hey, everything's fine, needs a paint job. So okay, let me take a look at it just in case. So I went and looked at it, and the uniqueness about this fire escape, it doesn't have any brackets below, it has brackets pulling back up. So it's a reverse, it's suspended from here down to this corner, and this corner sort of bends down and there's a bolt. So I went there to look at it to say, hey, it's got to be safe for the guys who are going to be painting this thing, and this is what I saw. So I went back and says, who'd you have examined? Oh, one of those 75 to 150 person firms, the greatest credentials in the world. What's that mean? Because if you had them sign a document that's called a confidence test, and then the confidence test, when you look at this, if everybody would open to this, and you can go to seattle.gov and download this. We helped them make this up. And again, you can get it in PDF or you get it in Word document, and you can just change their name and put your city and your logos. It's all that simple. So you'll have an industry standard documentation. Look at number 19. Well, if you start here on the materials and strength, it says, can you tell me, basically it says, all defects and violations must be identified on the fire escape with spray paint in contrasting color or in detail, drawing of the fire escape. The report is accompanied by a failed inspection, but you're basically confirming that there's no rust in the bolts, the welds, the joints, the screws, the stringers, the treads, the railings, the ladders. And then when you get to number 18 and number 19, it says, are the connections in good condition and verifiable either through a load test or verifiable means. So I brought these to them and says, these things are ready to fall off the building. This was like 150 apartments. So these things occur, and that is because they're not signing a document that's a yes/no questionnaire. It's an opinion. So opinion means, you know, in a firm that has 10 guys or 100 guys, you know who gets the fire escape activity? Entry-level guy, the guy that you're punishing that week. It's 6 times the work, 1/6 the pay. None of these fire escape inspections in the residential or in the commercial community are gonna pay over $1,000 or $2,000. They'll scream at 500, and these guys are used to seeing $5,000 to $10,000 per examination. Because you're examining foundations, you're examining roof structures, you're examining wall, I mean, you just drink a lot of coffee and charge up that bill. They can't do that on a fire escape. It's pretty much out there, the exterior of my building. So there was never any money for them on these things. This is a detention center for juveniles. When you first walk up to it, any problems? But as soon as you look underneath it, what do you see? So if your sentence doesn't get you, what could get you? Fire escape. It'll get you the early release program. This is a school, an elementary school. Now, we're going to prove to you today that it takes to grow a 1/4 inch, not me telling you, a metallurgist that we use on a case that we did for a fireman who fell through some staircases in New York City. It takes 25 years to grow a 1/4 inch of rust. It takes 50 years to grow a 1/2 inch of rust. And rust that's a 1/4 inch will grow to, iron that is a 1/4 inch will grow to 1 inch of rust, pushing everything aside. That's called rust jacking. It'll blow bricks aside, it'll take square iron tubes and make them round, it'll eat the inside and the outside, but primarily it starts separating treads, which is what you guys used to do what? Go up and go down. Tenants used to do what? Go up and go down. That's why you're not gonna get on fire escapes anymore. From the ground, you're gonna be able to look up and see whether it's not been routinely maintained. We're gonna prove that fire escapes rot from the inside out, and they start always at the connections and primarily at the treads. Ready? So this is the concern that you have, because when we examine fire escapes, we bring a little 3-pound hammer, and we do the ping pong test. So we ping it. If there's a nice ring, what's it mean? So we have some form of connection. Even if there's rust there and I ping it, I see the rust, so it still fails my confidence test, but I ping it, I can put my foot on it. If it pongs, what happens? It's false. So what you get is this. That's why you don't want to go up to these fire escapes, because you guys don't walk around with hammers. That's it, he's not going anywhere. So do you understand? So since you're not walking up, don't walk up these fire escapes anymore. Once you have full rust coverage, and you look at any connection, you see some rust jacking, you have all the evidence you need to write a violation that says, I need it examined, repaired, tested. Why do you use those 3 words? That's the only thing. You'll never mention a tread, because they'll fix just that tread. Don't mention a loose rail, because they'll fix that loose rail only. You write down on all violations, write this down in your books somewhere. All that you'll ever say on a fire escape violation is, I need this thing examined, repaired, tested. Who is going to examine it? Their maintenance guy? So it's going to be design professional or others, because they'll call you and say, well, who can I have it examined? And you say, well, design professional, others acceptable to me. Because they may want to send you an architect, and what do you tell the owner about that architect? Go ahead and do it, or you say, call me. Because when they call you, you're going to say, what's your credentials? So you're going to check out engineers and architects just to get an idea of their credentials. When you repair it, who repairs it? Their maintenance guy or a licensed professional? Under whose control? A building permit or the design professional? Under the design professional. Because the city official just issues a permit confirming that there's a licensed person doing what? The work, and there's a design professional, what? Watching him. And then test. What's the word test mean? It says right here. Must be maintained at all times. full and instant use, which, what it means in all the codes that I've read out there, and this is when you reference all the codes, it says that the authority having jurisdiction shall accept a load test or other satisfactory evidence. The International Fire Code says that depending upon the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. The International Fire Code that's coming soon to your neighborhood near you says, you know, shall be examined and or tested and or certified, so that's there. The International Building Code says that all fire escapes shall be examined or tested for structural adequacy, so load test and test keeps coming up everywhere. Instant use, so I'm going to use what the rest of the country's doing, and I'm going to reference the NFPA, which clearly says what I need done there. So I would rather you give me load test or other evidence of strength. So you're going to warn these design professionals to already start where? Load test or other evidence of strength? Give me other evidence of strength, man. Don't make me load test this thing, because I will. So you keep giving me other evidence of strength. If all of a sudden he brings you a 5-year-old fire escape, it was just built 5 years ago, are we going to change the fasteners, or are we going to load test it? Load test it, right? So every now and then, right, you have a situation where load testing is going to be the answer. In some cases, if the fire escape was built 5 years ago, do I need to load test it, or do I have enough evidence of strength to say these fasteners, that the average lifespan of a fastener well-maintained is 25 years? Can I give you other evidence of strength, the fact that it was built 5 years ago? The thing is pristine condition? Okay, so on average, here's the catch when we speak with people nationwide. If you spot repair and load test your fire escape, 5 years later, what happens? Load test again, 5 years later, what happens? Load test. If you, the other evidence of strength, if I change all the fasteners today on an old fire escape, 5 years from now, do I need to load test it? For the next 15 to 25 years, I can use other evidence of strength, because the bolt life of an average bolt, well maintained, is 15 to 25 years. So if they keep painting that thing, they put off load testing for how long? 15 to 25 years. Okay? So now let's take a look. You see all the codes, use them wisely. Your code is reliability, which is 1030.2, right? 1030.2. And then in reference, always reference other codes. And the best code to always reference of how you're interpreting 1030.2 is NFPA. Okay? That's your clarification code, saying, hey, you know what that means? They say it best. But if you want, I'll get you the IFC, I'll get you the IBC, and I'll get you other reference codes that are out there, because, and then if you really want to hunker it down and create a 5-year rule, can you do a local ordinance requiring that all buildings be examined and certified every 5 years as a local? Yes, no? Yeah, through your council, through your local council, just make an ordinance, say, hey, every building that we want. Can you make tags? Can you have fire escape tags? Brought in, even though the state hasn't authorized it yet, can you bring tagging through an ordinance? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel, copy and paste. So if you go to his confidence tests out there, if you go to seattle.gov, they have in the fire prevention, they have all kinds of tests. Sprinkler tests that you can steal from them, smoke detector testing, they have all these confidence tests, and what else do they have there? They have one of our tests. We helped design this test. And it's on there, so it's an industry standard documentation from a fire department, not from me. And you get it either in Word or you get it in PDF form. You pick it, you can modify it to say anything you want. Okay? Now we also did Tacoma. Tacoma came up with a great idea. Ready? You guys will love this one. So, again, all the questions, and then Tacoma comes up with the yearly exam. Guess who does this exam? The facilities guy. The maintenance guy. Guess what his job is every year, since you do yearly visits, checking smokes, checking this. Guess what that yearly guy gives you? You'll love this one. Ready? Always gets a giggle. He has 3 questions. The bolts look good? What's he going to say? Yeah. He's going to say, paint looks good? What's he going to say? And then he's going to say, all moving parts, such as the ladders and the doors and the windows all open up. What's he going to say? He says, yes. He's going to sign it, and then he's going to sign at the bottom and give it to you. This is called the annual examination. And you get it because you're doing either the batteries or you're doing your yearly. Ready? This is how you collect this one every year. because it's done by the owner, the agent, or somebody that they use, right? You say, hey, I'm here I need that. The guy goes, here it is. He goes, no, I need you to prove it for me first. So, I need you to go to the roof. I need you to climb over the gooseneck, come down the gooseneck, walk down the whole fire escape, open some doors that on every floor so that the doors all open into the fire escape, come down to the staircase or cantilever or balanced ladder, release it, walk all the way down to the ground, and hand me what? This document. But again, owner, agent, so can they hire somebody to do all those things? So what's great about this yearly? Instead of every 5 years finding out how things are, because things get accidents, people drop things on them, damage occurs, what happens with this yearly? It's not by a registered professional, but what's it give you every year? Because why do you go there and check the batteries on the exit signs? Why do you guys check every year extinguishers? Why do you check sprinklers? Isn't this a great idea? Having somebody walk through your second means of egress? Do you want to walk it or do you want them to walk over the gooseneck? So we like this. Seattle doesn't do the yearly, but we like Tacoma did, so we made it part of the package to say we recommend highly that you include the yearly sign-off. And you put the pressure on the owner to walk his fire escape every year, or assign an agent or other. Good idea? Okay, if you go to, you just Google up Oregon fire escapes. They've got everything detailed, copy and paste. So there's another program that you want to steal. Oregon, I think, went to the head of the line with all the work. We've been working with them for 10 years. So guess what they got the first year? Acceptance or resistance? Got it? So this is not going to happen overnight. Is this a load testing or a certification program, or is this a fire escape tagging program that we're initiating today? We're tagging fire escapes to basically get their current condition today. They're going to get a yellow, a red, or a white. Who issues the white? Third party. Who issues yellows and reds? Could be third party, but also could be you, because you're walking along a dangling tread. What are you gonna issue? A yellow or a red? A red. You get there and the fire escape is all rusty, no dangling treads, no evidence of life safety. What do you issue? So you have all these yellow tags that you print it at your own place. You put a plastic on, you punch a hole, you get a zip tie, and you walk by the fire escape and you zip tie this tag to it that says what? What's it say on the tag? What's it say on one of these red tags? Go to the back of the page. Not the red tag, the yellow tag. Red or yellow. It says contact the city official. And it has 3 steps. If you can read on there, on the front of the tags, it says contact the official, have fire escape inspected, service and load test. 1, 2, 3. And all you do is you leave it there on the fire escape to basically raise the awareness, but then you start the 30-day process, usually through the computer, by putting in. Who else is going to need this information? How about pre-plans? How many pre-plans are done in all the buildings in downtown? So all your firefighters need to know which current buildings have or do not have a tag. Because when you go down a smoky alleyway, what do you get when he gets there? What do you want to see on the fire escape? A white tag, 7 to 10 feet off the ground, permanently affixed to the fire escape or the building. That's what Seattle's making everybody do. So this is really going to benefit who immediately once you start tagging your fire escapes? Fire department, firefighters, right? Because are they going to use any yellows and reds? They're going to use white ones? So we're starting a tagging program. So the immediate ones that are white are going to get a white tag. The ones that are yellow are going to have their time to fix it. And the ones that are red are going to get what? Fixed or scaffolding. So are you asking anybody to certify fire escapes? Nope. But you're going to run through, since this accident happened in Philadelphia, what do you need immediately to know? Because if all of a sudden in Philadelphia fire hydrants of a certain brand started, popping because of an age, any fire hydrant that is made by this manufacturer at this age, they're all now losing their cap or something. What do you guys immediately do now? Right? You guys send out every truck to find out which, on every street what. So right now, this is a tagging program. You just want to get the general condition of the fire escape. And all your pre-plans, what are you doing in the downtown? That's what's going to start. You just want to get the general condition of that fire escape, because on a pre-plan, the guys are going down there, they're going to a white, a red, or a yellow fire escape. When they get there, what do they have, in case they didn't read the book? Or get the heads up, what are they gonna see there? A red, a yellow, or a white, because that's what they're doing in Seattle. Okay? So, Portland, go copies. This is their confidence test. 22 questions. Reg 4 in California, they have confidence test. So here's the tags, the procedures and guidelines. You can have this online. So when after you write a violation that said, hey, what do I do? Send them one of these. It has your name, your department, all your information. Your code will be down here, and you can erase anything else, because it's a PDF or a Word document. You can just eliminate. It's a simple Word template. This is what tags they want in Seattle. 11 by 17 inches. And they want it on the 1/8-inch vinyl hard, and that's what it looks like on fire escape. So, see the date when it was examined and the date of the re-examination? So who did the examination, see? This is what they want. This is what it looks like on a fire escape. You're running down a smoky alleyway in the middle of the night, and you got a fire escape. You're a fireman. Are they going to have any idea what the condition is of this fire escape? I'm on it. Throw a fire escape ladder to it, and let's go. I'll pull the ladder down, let's get on it. If it's yellow or red, you're just in that process. Now, fines, fees, permits and stuff can be applied to this. By the way, every time you certify a fire escape, most cities are taking a filing fee for all these certifications every 5 years. 50, 100, so it's an income producer. And some of them have, if you let the clock run after 30 days, what happens? So as soon as you put a yellow or a red tag on one and it takes 6 months to cure, yeah, they've cured it 6 months later, buying, selling, or doing something to the building, but now what do they have to cure? The meter. You left the meter running. So through your tagging program, everybody gets a sticker. But all of a sudden, everyone, the meter starts running on fines, fees, and penalties. So, from down below, this is an 8.5 by 11. Do we know who did the examination? Do you know when the next due date is? Do we have some licenses and stuff information? Permanently affixed to the fire escape, 7 to 10 feet off the ground, or permanently affixed to the building. So when you're doing your normal walk-arounds, checking the building for something totally unrelated, do you have to go back to the city to find out when the next certification is due on this, or is it right there, just like an elevator tag? Right in your face. So they start saying, yeah, see the tag, it's in the manager's office. Okay. Oh, you guys will love this one. Calling the kettle black. Training towers. How many training towers are out there ready to kill some of your firemen, your training firemen? This is in the city, I think it was Watertown Training Center. So I went there and I started hammer testing these treads. What happened? This is the moment I started testing. Ping pong. So you guys got all these towers that have fire escapes as part of their training. None of your towers have had the fire escapes examined. And then on the inside, you guys have this stuff, the iron, because you guys throw hay and smoke, and you guys got all kinds of stuff that you throw in there. And look at all the rust on the inside ones. So, are these going to give way? They sure are. And when you have a recruit that falls down during training, and the gooseneck on his system fell, he fell through the treads at a training tower. So, any of you are associated or know of training towers, whenever possible we examine these for free, and we also like to go there with you, make a class out of it. So, whenever there's a training tower inspection, we'd like to bring as many people there to basically see what an examination looks like. So, this is your dirty little secret, guys. Oh, this is where you guys find out that fire escapes have the bastard child of egress, in case a fire don't ever get on one of these, because even in your training towers, you guys probably never let any of your recruits get on these anyway. That's how you train right off the bat. Say, see this thing here? Don't ever get on one of these, okay? Let's take it all inside. So, these are going to hurt some people, guys. So, 1 inch of rust, 1/2 inch of rust. Damage, trucks. They come in, they smash into these things all the time. So, as soon as this happens, Somebody asked me, do you let people back in the building? What do? Can I take this and secure this, and can I put a scaffolding here next to this and then tie everything back in? So can they stay in the building? If they take measures, alternate measures. If they take no other alternate measures, what do? A life safety concern, what can you do with any building that has a life safety concern? Evacuate. This is the city hall. You guys see all the missing threads? They're dangling, ready to fall. Section 8 housing, some places. Somebody mentioned, from Richmond, I think there was a Section 8 housing incident that occurred. Somebody was mentioning it, right? That, again, the one that hurt somebody was better than the other ones that didn't hurt somebody. The collapse of the parking garage, typical. You know what those things get? Because they're exposed, so they don't have to have sprinklers, they're open. They get salt, they don't get shoveled. You get some ice, some snow, and you walk it up and down, you throw salt on the cement, which absorbs the water and the salt, transfer it to the steel, and does what? Creates a hand grenade that some poor woman did what? Fell through 3 stories. So we have those, that's happening here. This is, hopefully that goes to the mayor's office, you know what I'm saying? So that he can, but this is typical. This is a housing authority. Oh, this is a good one. Usually, I bring Rusty. And Rusty is the remains of a fire escape system that I took off an elementary school between Christmas break, a couple of years back. And this was at a private school, at a Catholic school that rented out to this French school that used it as kindergarten through 8th grade. And this is from the 2nd floor to the kindergarten. They used this every single day. And it was buried into the ground, into the asphalt. And they used this every day. And then until we took it out. But when I took it out, it took a long time just to take it out and secure it so it wouldn't fall apart, so I could use it as a piece to show you just how bad things get. So what I did is I basically went on it, and I did everything I could do possibly wrong. I welded on the lead, I welded the nose of the rusty clips, I did everything wrong to basically use it to show you guys what happens. Now, the best thing that happened with the EPA says that anything older than 1978 has lead on it, and you can't weld, you can put an open flame. So, if you get to any of your fire escapes, which 98% of them are all bolted connection fire escapes, and there's somebody welding on it, is that a correct repair, first of all? Does EPA allow it? But that was the standard repair for every fire escape you've ever seen, is there's a weld there now that I have to cut to get into the rust that's still there that nobody ever removed. So that's what we did with her, with Rusty over here. We basically did everything wrong. So one of the quick ways for me to fix a fire escape in the past that I can't do now is put an angle on top of the tread, weld it here, and then weld it to every one of these individual little bars. Because I can't get anything underneath, because underneath is full of crap, full of rust. The second way is, underneath is, if I get rust in a connection, just weld the nose of it, and that'll hold it from falling. Okay? So, can't do that anymore. But it saves a lot of money. So we took this fire escape that used to be 4 feet wide, and we shrunk it down into a little baby one, so I can show you what happens, so we have a little piece, and we bring, it's got all, and this is the condition, the rust, look at it. And you know who brought me this fire escape to change? Was it the yearly fire examination or fire inspections that they did at the school? Was it the yearly building inspections done at the school? Or was it the maintenance guy at the school that says, "Dude, please change this, otherwise we're gonna drop a little kid here that's paying, $28,000 a year for this private school." So that's it before we took it down. So I kept a piece up here, and I kept a small piece down here. And that's the new one that we put in. So now it goes off to the right and then coming down the stairs. So it no longer goes straight into, because, like you guys have here for hunting, you have a salt lick, right? What they had is a lead lick here for all the little kids. So that when they're running around in recess, they can all put their hands, on the fire escape and play hide and seek underneath the fire escape, put lead in their hand and do what with it? Lick their hands. So this was the lead lick that they had. That's why that's why there's no paint left on it, because what the little kids do with chips, lead chips that taste like what? Tastes like candy. So there's no paint left on this thing. So this is And you gotta remember the detention center, if your sentence doesn't get you, the fire escape activity will. How long does it take to grow a 1/4 inch of rust? To grow a 1/2 inch of rust? Who said that? Metallurgist told me that. I'm just passing it on, so if they wanna know where you get this from, I got this, a metallurgist who was an expert on what kind of a case? A fire escape case, that a fireman fell 2 stories through a fire escape stairs. And he had to prove that so that he could win the case, because here's why, and we're gonna get to the case in a little bit. What was unique about the case is that, was this a work-related injury that basically took this 27-year-old fireman and basically made him disabled for the rest of his life? Or was this a case where they were suing the owner directly for negligence? So that not only was he gonna get his disability, but he was also gonna get a case against the owner for negligence, that he basically made this happen to him. So it wasn't a work-related injury, it was an injury that occurred because of the negligence of the owner to maintain a fire escape as required by law. And he won. They settled. And one of the reasons is because he proved that. So as soon as the first place that you're gonna lose or break something in a fire escape is always your treads, and that is why. So that's when you weigh 300 pounds.
I think that's it.
When you weigh 300 pounds and you're coming down a set of stairs, your force with 1 foot transferring. Now, if you're going up these set of stairs and the tread fails, your foot's gonna go through and you're gonna fall which way? Back, you're gonna sprain, break, or something, right? Now, when you're going forward, and this thing gives way, and your foot gets locked in, and your body keeps going forward, what happens to your knee and your leg? Which way do you break it? The right way or the wrong way?
Wrong way.
And then what happens to your career? Okay? So it all depends. So don't go up fire escapes anymore, and don't carry hammers, because if you examine, you touch it, you own it. So don't be an examiner. Your job is to identify whether or not the fire escape has been structurally sound and has been maintained as required by code and is free of impediments. So when you look at it and you're using the reliability code and you look up at this rusty fire escape, does it look reliable?
Nope.
What do you write? What's the violation? 3 things. What do you want? I want it examined, I want it repaired, I want it tested. You're gonna get a call immediately from the owner or from an engineer saying, what do you mean by examine it? Because I looked at it. It says, great. Fill out that industry standard form that's available online, or you want a copy of it. So I'll still take your letter, but please fill out this yes/no questionnaire, which is gonna say what to you? Is this part of a state document? I said, no, it's a industry standard document. It's not an opinion, because I need some assurances. Please read the questions, and if you'd like, don't even use those, just copy and paste those questions and answer them on your letterhead. Right? Does that work? Okay, then he's gonna say, repaired. You say, well, the owner's got his maintenance staff, his lawnmower guys, basically he's gonna go fix it. What are you gonna say? Speak with the building official, because he's the one that's gonna determine whether or not this is gonna need a permit, because if it needs a permit, can the lawnmower guy do it? Lawnmower guy can paint it, right? Or is there a lead law now, keeping the lawnmower guy off the paint job? Renovator's license? Because of the lead law? Okay? And then it says tested. So you're gonna get that test from the owner and from the design professional. So what do you mean by tested? You say, well, all 4 codes are clearly stating that, and I'll use the simplest one that kind of wrote it the best. The authority having jurisdiction, because this guy's gonna tell you that he does want or does not want a load test. Right? That design professional is gonna tell you, I'm not gonna load test this thing. I said, well, you have all the right, but you're not the authority having jurisdiction, buddy. The authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. What other evidence of strength are you giving me, sir? Your opinion? Nice opinion, give me a load test. I don't like your suit, give me a load test. Breath smells bad today, give me a load test. You can pick anything you want, but he has to give you a load test or other evidence of strength, and it's in 4 codes. And by the way, are we doing this before the building is active and occupied, or after the building is occupied based on OSHA? Because OSHA is that crazy wild card. You know how you can make it do a lot of different things? So what's OSHA say at 1910.37? What is it? No, I'm saying, well, what's OSHA basically telling you? What's the main thing that OSHA says about employees going into any structure? What's it say?
Two means
Well, not
of
just
egress.
egress, it says you must maintain all fire protection. So, if I'm renovating a building, does that mean I can take the sprinklers offline and not let you know about this? Can I take alarms offline and not let you know about this? Don't think this is a fire escape thing. It says right in OSHA that you must maintain fire protection. So are we fire protection? In California we are. So when my license is part of the fire protection. Reg 4 is fire protection. It covers everybody. Everybody has to be licensed. All examiners of sprinklers, everything. And they get a fee, $1,000 to get your license. You guys want a system to examine all your maintenance stuff? You know who you copy? Regulation for LA. They need a license for everything. That's a money machine right there. Just for the vendors who have to pay to have their license. And every 3 years, guess what they ask? Renew. Got it? So there's systems out there. Just so Regulation 4, modified with all the other things going on in Portland and Seattle and Boston and such. You marry all of them together, you're going to get the perfect system. But you want a money-making machine? Regulation 4. Okay, the one that I think is the best, with very few modifications, is Portland, Oregon. You want to speak with Stu White. He'll tell you all the pain we went through together. You know what I'm saying? The first time I was there, they wanted to, they tarred and feathered me, and they threw me out of town, you know what I'm saying? But again, just the acceptance. It was one of those, nobody wanted to touch it yet, you know what I'm saying? Firescapes was an issue, but they didn't want it because there was going to be some political blowback. And it happens. You know, I've had systems, I was in Springfield, Illinois, that happened, like, yeah! So these things happen, it's crazy. But again, is this a certification program, or is this a tagging program? Tagging, we're trying to find out the condition of every fire escape today, for whose purpose?
For all of us.
Who's this tagging program going to immediately affect? The safety of who? Firefighters. So if anybody wants to fight firefighters and their safety, come on up. Who else are they going to benefit?
Residents.
Tenants, the occupants. Is it going to help the landlords collect their rent? Not unless they start using the fire escapes, and we change that law that I want to change, but that isn't coming anytime soon. Oh, this is a good one. Rutgers University. This is the only active fire escape, fireman's pole fire escape I've ever seen in my whole life on a building for Rutgers University. Now, if this was a fraternity, this would be his and hers, emergency evacuation plan, but whoever gets taught to slide down, you know how hard it is for firemen to slide down a pole without hurting yourself? There's a whole process, and here they have a fire escape there. Has anybody ever seen a slidescape? Slidescape. Just like a corkscrew. There's one in Elizabeth, New Jersey, 12 stories. We got that here to show you also.
Some wax paper on that bad boy.
Say what? What is it?
Put some wax paper on it.
Well,
Really fine.
I'll tell you the story about that one, but actually, and I do have it, but the good story about that is that when they used to heat the building with coal, one of the keys, because it's a 12-story Art Deco building, has a main staircase, one elevator, and it has this slidescape, which I'll show you. But the maintenance guy would have all these kids always breaking into his building, and the key was, from one of the local Catholic schools, was you had to basically gain credibility, you had to sneak into that building, go down the fire escape, all the way to the ground, right? So what this guy used to do, back in the day when they heated it with coal, he would get coal dust, and basically throw coal dust into the chute, so that every now and then he'd have some kid with the blue trousers or with the white shirt covered in black soot. So he got his credibility, but he also got a good shine at the end of the day from his parents because he ruined his uniform. So you guys remember this live load testing? See the little girl here? Now, if you remember correctly, I think there's about 12 fire escapes on this whole system. It was like probably 25 to 30 apartments. And the key was that when the fireman spoke, he says that that nobody could get down. So when he arrived at this fire escape, was this a firefighting or was this a rescue mission when he first got there? So when he got there, everyone that he had to use to get people off the fire escape because the ladders that were on balanced wheels weren't coming down. So even though there was a little girl on there, right, the fire escape was supposed to go down, that ladder was supposed to go all the way to the ground. And what was happening? So everybody was trapped on this fire escape. So this is scary. It's one thing for us to be scared to death. You throw the little girl down there first, and all of a sudden the thing still doesn't work, or it does work all of a sudden, what happens to her?
It's going straight to the...
Right now,
So,
firefighters are taking down the ladders and
just to
rolling
remind
the
you.
hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building,
Now watch what he says about all the
you see
people.
children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them. Isn't that scary, scary stuff? They got up, they put the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
Well, about 50 people were displaced inside this building. Our firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the Cedar Bridgeport, News 8.
Everybody back in, reset. We're gonna do this again another time soon in the near future. All right, we only got 10 more minutes and we're gonna take a break to grab a lunch. We'll be back here at 1 and then we'll complete this. But now, this is exactly what occurs on a fire escape. Now, this is the Chicago incident. This happened in 2003 for us, but this is not the Chicago, this is what happened in Philadelphia. 3 people on a fire escape. And then it collapsed. So a properly maintained fire escape will never collapse, but an improperly maintained fire escape, you don't know whether you're gonna survive the fact that you got out of a burning building. The key that we're having here is, again, back into the building, is that your worst part of the fire escape system that you can never figure out is how it's tied back into the building. So that unknown can only be done in one of 2 ways. You can load test it, that will tell you. You can open it up, or you can just eliminate it. You let sleeping dogs lie. And usually on a 50, 75, 100-year-old building, do you want to touch the bricks? Do you want to open up the cavity wall? So as soon as I drill a hole, a 3/4 inch hole, as soon as I drill a 3/4 inch hole through it and I put a bolt and a plate on the inside, and if it does want to come down to the ground a year later, so if I have a fire escape on the ground attached with a chunk of wall, what failed? The fire escape or the wall?
Wall.
Got it? So the water gets in here, rots these things out, so a load test is the only way that you can verify that thing is not coming down, or give me other evidence of strength. So I'll either verify the connection into the wall, or I'll just duplicate it and avoid the whole question. So a lot of these 50, 75, 100-year-old structures, we're going to be putting in some epoxy bolts when the temperature is right, and we can prove that the epoxies are holding, because some of these epoxies have failed, so you put in one epoxy or 2. A lot of times you don't put single epoxies, you put in an angle running across the whole length of the balconies, and you unify all the connections to one angle that's going across with all the epoxies. So when you unify the whole bracket system, what happens? In case there's a failure, what has to fall to the ground? Everything has to fall to the ground. Otherwise, if you have a failure on one epoxy, what's holding it up? It's neighbors. So we get this quite often, that people have all kinds of damage. And you see this when you have rusty tiers coming out. Okay? So this is all exposed fire escapes. Bulges, rust jacking, ice jacking. You got a bulge in a brick wall, this is what's happening behind it. This is how we basically verify using a little snake in there. If we have to verify a connection, we did this in California before we load tested a fire escape system, we drill. I have to drill 2, 3, 4 holes there so I can get my snake in there. And what do I see when I put my snake in there? What do you see? I mean, what are you really seeing? But the same 3/4 hole, if I go 4 to 6 inches that way, and I put that same hole over there, put in a rod, a 3/4 rod all the way inside, put a plate on the inside, or epoxy bolt, depending, you know, what the makeup of the wall is, and then mechanically tie that back in to this angle, which looks good to me anyway, am I showing you other evidence of strength? Do you want to still order a load test on my client? Because I don't order a load test. Who orders load tests? The authority having jurisdiction. Okay, so that 3/4 hole will do just fine over there. It's the same hole. The same hole for investigation is the same hole I used to duplicate it. Costing the client how much? And this is what I see when I look inside that hole. What do I see? Can't see much. It's just a little hole. I'm gonna stick it in there, and I'm gonna see some cement, I'm gonna see some steel. So what are you really verifying? That's me looking down a hole. That's me. See, there's an eyeball there. What am I seeing? I don't have full view. So what's best? Fix it or duplicate it? Okay? And in some cases, I can verify the connection outside, I can verify the connection inside, you know? So I can verify this on both sides. Okay? So there's a verification process or there's just a duplication process. Okay? Otherwise, you don't have to do either one. Then you gotta do a load test. So there's the plate, there's the rod. So, when you say that I need to load test it with sandbags, water bags, or cables, I need to raise 3,000 pounds. I have a choice. This is 10 stories worth of the same fire escape. This got converted. This used to have stairs. They converted it because they put in 2 staircases inside the building, and they used these as Romeo and Juliet balconies that they wanted to use just to go out there on the fire escape. Not to egress off, but to use it as what we call Romeo and Juliet balcony. So we need to put 3,000 pounds on each one. So we have a truck underneath, and now we're actually load testing the top 10th floor using a cable, and we're using a truck. We're lifting the tail of a truck to exert 3,000 using a load cell. And so here we are, you know, watching everything with the laptop, the load cell, and then the plates, and there's already an angle going across to exert the force of 3,000 pounds. This is just lifting the tail until it stops. Now, when you're load testing, you got 1,000 pounds to put on it, you got to put on 400 pounds, 40% of the load for the first 10 minutes, take measurements before, during, and after. If nothing deflects, and we're talking about 3/16 of an inch, because I thought, oh, it's going to deflect more than that. It's not. And then once you've passed the 10 minutes, you now put in the other 600 pounds, and you take measurements before, during, and after. So it's a long, lengthy process to load testing. So here's a load test. That was a California load test. We've done load testing throughout the country, but here's a Cambridge load test on a fire escape that actually belonged to Harvard. We purposely left some bolts behind on this so we can purposely record a load test. So 7 guys, 7 in the morning till 7 at night. That includes loading trucks, showing up at the site, unloading the bag, bringing them to the site, putting them on the fire escape. So 7 guys, 12 hours, and this is a small fire escape, no access, so you have to bring the bag, so no cherry picker, so we can bring the bag up and, you know, live, you have to be physically on the fire escape, right? And so we load tested the bag, the platforms, we load tested the treads, and, you know, each tread got a concentrated load of either 200 or 300. So this is what it looks like when you're dragging bags around all day long. So can load testing be done with 50-pound bags? So now we're loading onto a stair, and we're doing a concentrated load of every other tread, 200 pounds. They start at the top, and you start bringing the bags down.
Staircase is starting, what
An
time?
all-day event. So can you trip and fall? Can you drop a bag? Is there room for error? Is there a camel, you know, the last straw that broke the camel's back? Is it very dangerous? So, is this a load test class, or is this other evidence of strength class? So when we say that a load test can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 per floor, or $5,000 to $8,000 per floor, why? Why does it cost so much money? Why wouldn't they use that money for paint and bolts? Right? Because a load test is a load test, you know, just throw, no. You have to load test pieces of it, so that in case there's a failure, only a piece of it, and you have the other piece to jump to, or be near, or have next to you, so that you can play safe. Otherwise, a lot of times the best way is to load test is from underneath. Put all the weights on the ground, run cables up, and then exert force, and you raise the load down to the ground, just 1 inch off the ground. But in some cases, you don't have that luxury. What do you gotta do? Bags. Sometimes you can also do water. You use water bags, and you load test the top floor, the 10th or the 20th floor of a building, and then you gravity feed all that water to the bags below and the bags below, and then at the very end, what do you do with all that water? Put it back into a capture tank, or you let it go down the drain. Water weighs 7 pounds to 8 pounds per gallon. How big a tank do you need to bring? This is the fireman. I'm gonna bring it to here, and I'm gonna, before I start here, because this is where I'm gonna prove to you, again, using a metallurgist. I didn't tell you, a metallurgist told me, and he was gonna use it in the court of law, that says fire escapes rot from the inside out. And we have to do that because a 27-year-old fireman got disabled on a case. And his main issue on this case was that he wasn't fighting a disability claim, he was fighting a negligence claim, and he won it. Okay? So that's what we're going to be dealing with here, that he fell through 3 treads here, fell down, then went back up, helped somebody get out of that window, and then by the time he was running on adrenaline, when he finally got downstairs, he had damaged his spine, and he was out. Okay? So we're going to go over that part of the case. So this is where we're getting a lot of our information, is basically from other people that have gotten injured or hurt or died. We're giving it to you before it happens, but is there any hand grenades here down in Richmond that the pin has already been pulled out? And the reference is fire escapes out of the hand grenades. Is there any here that's going to hurt some of you guys, or have already hurt based on some stories I'm hearing of things that have occurred? They're all up and down the East Coast. Any place that has an industrial base where people were stacked into an area and people are living 2, 3, 4 floors stacked, where fire escapes was the means of getting them out, and you had commercial buildings, factories, and the fire escapes was the only means out of these? The answer is yes. So these are now the bastard child of egress. They haven't seen a true inspection in almost 50 years. So take a break, down at 1 o'clock. Back here.